in the lack of respect that at least our political candidates have for each other. In the Republican debate this week, the candidates were making fun of each other for their height, for their body parts. It was just not a good scene. Our gospel lesson today is probably the greatest parable Jesus ever told. It's got enough ideas for thousands of sermons from every point of view. The only one I haven't heard is from the point of view of the pigs. But today I want to focus on the two brothers in the story and the ways they are similar and different regarding respect. People say respect is lacking in today's world, and that certainly seemed to be the case this week. They say there was more respect years ago. But the kind of respect we may remember from a generation or two back was nothing compared to first century Palestine. There, the father was to be respected at all costs. Family structure was respected, and communities had the responsibility of upholding respect in family and government. And the communities would come down hard too. People and families could be outcast or even stoned if standards of behavior weren't followed. So it's amazing to me to see how disrespectful both sons were in today's parable. In parables, which were usually not true stories, Jesus often exaggerated to prove a point. Take the younger son. He went up to his father and dared to ask for his inheritance. That's the same as saying to his father, "I wish you were dead." Then he went on his way and squandered all his father's hard-earned money. When he left, the young son disrespected his older brother too. For when the younger brother left, he left behind more work and more responsibility for the other older brother. So you can imagine how the older brother might be resentful of his younger brother even before the young brother came back. And the older brother had his problems too. Did he respect his father? No. His father wanted him to join the celebration, and he refused. Even when his father pleaded with him, itself a sign of respect because he could have simply ordered them, he still refused to come into the feast. We really don't know how that part of the story ended up. When the younger brother returned, did the older brother treat his brother with respect from that moment onwards? Well, certainly he complained about the younger brother's behavior to his father, and even refused to greet him. The two brothers, then, are really more alike than different. But there's one more thing I notice, and I point out in the parable. The father loved both sons and gave each one grace in the extreme. Even after acting out, the father forgave his young son easily and quickly. He dressed him up and gave him a banquet. No doubt the younger son realized how amazing his father's love was. And the older son? Even after the older son became difficult, the father reassured him that he was still respected and loved. Some have even gone so far as to say that this is really not the story of the prodigal son, but the story of the loving father, because it's the father who really, I think, should be the focus of the story. This is a parable then about us. How very different does our Father in heaven act with us than we do with him? How badly we children treat each other. How badly we children of God treat ourselves. M. Scott Peck tells a story about a community of monks who were dying out. In fact, there are only 5 monks left in their monastery. Now, I know most of you haven't spent a whole lot of time with monks, but I've had retreats in places where monks are, and I got to tell you that a group of monks is just like a family. They squabble, they complain, there can be a little bit of backbiting here and there, and this group of monks that M. Scott Peck talks about must have been worse than the average. And these monks were very concerned about who would carry on after they were all gone. They tried everything they could to bring in new recruits, but nothing worked. Finally, their leader, the abbot, heard about a rabbi nearby who was known for his wisdom. So he went and saw the rabbi. He told the rabbi their problem, and they had long discussions together. But the rabbi didn't seem to have any solutions. "I don't have any answers to your problem," the rabbi said. But as he was leaving, he said, "I do know this. One of you in the community is the Messiah." Now the abbot thought this was a strange thing for the rabbi to say, and he wasn't sure that he believed it. But it got him thinking, could I be the Messiah? Or is it one of the others? He came back to his community and told them what the rabbi had said. It got them thinking too. They began to wonder if one of the monks in that small community really was the Messiah. They all thought to themselves, what would I do if the Messiah were one of the others? And they all began to treat each other with great respect and great love, just in case it might be true. Time passed, and the small group of monks would occasionally have visitors. After seeing the men in the community treat each other so well, the visitors went and told others. News of the little community of monks spread everywhere. Before too long, a young man came to the community and saw for himself that the stories about the monks were true. And he asked to join their little community. You can guess the rest of the story. Soon the little community of monks was thriving. Now the point of my sermon today is not to point a finger at you with the parable or the story. Salem must be a loving community now, or else you would not have people present here today to worship together. But there are always problems in any congregation, always ways that we are not respectful to our guests. A couple weeks ago there was somebody who showed up, and I don't know what the situation was. Apparently that person went away and said that nobody paid any attention to them when they came to worship. And so it's one of those things that I have no idea who that person was. I have no way of following up with them, nor do you. But it's something that we should keep in mind when we're talking about worship together and we're talking about gathering together as a community. And so my point is to ask a couple questions. In what ways are we Christian brothers and sisters like the two brothers in the parable? When are we willing to disrespect one another while we forget our own sins? In what ways do we complain about other people? Not to the person who we should talk to, the person we're complaining about, but to other people. Do we forgive easily and as quickly as God does to us? In what ways could we be even more loving and respectful with each other than we are right now? So the visitors here know that we don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. We must answer these questions carefully. They are good questions to think about. When we baptize a child, and in 2 weeks we are going to be baptizing 3 children, a family with 3 children that has decided to have their children baptized here. When we have a baptism, we as a community promise to pray and help the parents raise each child that's baptized here. That's what we in this congregation promise in baptism. So let's strive to do that, not only for the ones that are baptized, but also for each other and for all the visitors that come, and they will be coming in just a couple weeks. Let's strive also to pray for all people and to help others in this congregation and beyond. May we act in grace and love with one another as the Father did with His children today, and our Father in heaven acts towards us. May we be the opposite of the 2 brothers in our gospel lesson today. May we be the opposite of what we see in society among the presidential candidates and elsewhere. Amen.